Administration for the Town of New London, Tuesday, January 7th, and we are entertaining the continuation of the Catherine and James Robgent matter. It's 6:30. We will have some members trickling in, but we have a quorum of 5. So for the record, I think we should designate who the voting members are right now, and then we can proceed. So that would be Stephen Root, me, Michael Todd, Peter, and I know your name. Julia. Julia Laments, and of course Lauren Snow Chadwick. Thank you. I just need to bump into you guys every week somewhere, and then I'll be fine. I just can't. Okay. All right, we are set. So, for those of us that are not aware of what's going on, the Robgents have retained a surveyor, and they've provided the board with a plot plan of their property, which is quite unique in the fact that it's a triangular in shape. We've been joined now by Conrad Bolton. Conrad, we've selected our voting members for the evening, so you are the alternate. You may participate in discussion, however you may not vote. Okay, so I'm going to call on, we have another alternate. Frank Anzalone, thank you for coming. Sorry that we've selected our voting members, so you are an alternate. I hope that's all right. This is a continuance of the Robgent matter.
So
Yep.
I was here for the last one.
You were here for the last one. Are any of the voting members that weren't here for the last one? Aha. Oh dear. You're kicked out in exchange. Well, I mean, if we do this diplomatically, Conrad got here first, and okay, then Frank will be a voting member, and Lauren will step down and be an alternate. Are we clear on our voting members? Yes, okay. So at this point, I'm going to call on the Robgents to tell us what they prepared and explain to us what they found when the surveyor did your boundary line survey. So whoever did the survey, whoever you want to have your representative, your guy come up and tell us what he did, that'd be great. You know, step up to the microphone, push the button until it turns green, and then you will be recorded.
Can you hear me now? So my name is Nick Vertife. I'm a survey manager at Horizons Engineering. I worked on this plan as far as the drafting and field work that was conducted and a lot of the research. Basically, we were hired to survey the front right-of-way line on the particular piece of property. The 2 sidelines that form a triangle were not surveyed as part of this plan. We found, after overlaying the proposed addition, that as it sits right now, they're looking at a 40.96 foot setback from the closest overhang to the edge of the right-of-way. And just as a bit of history, Mountain Road was originally laid out in 1813 and subsequently realigned a couple of years later in 1817, and its width is 49.5 feet or 3 rods.
Okay, and what can you tell me about the entirety of the Robgents' home with respect to the 50-foot setback?
Sure. So the closest point in their home currently is 31.1 feet and change, which is closer than the closest point of that addition, and the majority of, actually all of the facade of the building currently extends into the current 50-foot setback.
Understood, that's right. So as it is presently, it's pre-existing non-conforming site.
Correct. Because
the 50-foot setback was enacted after the building was constructed.
Correct.
And so you've confirmed that we do, in fact, with the proposed addition, have a potential violation of the 50-foot setback by roughly 10 feet.
Could you say that one more time?
Do you have hard copies?
Yes, there's additional copies.
So, I'm sorry, Frank. Yeah, there's handouts. Everybody else have them? Yeah. There's a couple over here. Over here. These books. No, it's okay. I should have asked you to do that. I didn't.
So now that we have these, if you could go over those dimensions one more time.
Oh, sure.
As soon as.
So through the survey, to answer your question, There would be a variance that would be required to
Understood.
construct the addition as it is now. And the closest point of the structure is about 10 feet into the 50-foot setback versus where the proposed addition would be attached to the structure.
Understood. Hang on just a second. Frank, are you all set? Are you with us in terms of the dimensions?
So you're saying that the proposed... Sorry, so you're saying that the proposed addition is 40 feet from the front property line?
More or less, yes, about within a foot, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that was the whole idea, is we didn't know where the line was. And now they have defined the line for us, and now we know exactly what the encroachment is.
and you would say that the existing is about 30 feet?
It is 31.12 feet.
Okay.
That's the closest point of the structure, which is a window. It's kind of like a sunroom bump out.
Yes.
I don't know how best
Right.
to describe it, but
And you said the addition is 10 feet beyond that, which would make it 41.125 feet.
it's 40.96 feet.
From the overhang, Frank.
Yep, that's from a corner of the overhang, which extends, to my understanding, 1.5 feet from the edge of the addition face of the building.
Thank you.
No, not a
So
problem.
is all the board members clear on the dimensions? Yeah. Okay, so,
right corner really shows it all very clear.
yeah, the upper right corner of the diagram that we have possession of, which will be Exhibit A for the record. Okay. I recall there was some email to the effect that there was some other reason why the addition had to be where it was, that somehow related to fire egress. Can you explain that?
Sure, so I spoke with the.
I didn't make that up, right? Okay,
Yes.
good. So if you could explain that
So
to
I
us
spoke
for the
with
record,
prop-
that'd be great.
Oh, sorry. I spoke with the property owners, and they probably could give a little bit more understanding to that issue.
Yeah.
But to my understanding, there's limited fire access, like as far as escape from a fire, to where some of the main bedrooms are in the house. To get outside, you have to go through the entire house to get out in the case of a fire. This would allow, from what I've been told, more escapes in case of a fire and allow greater safety in the home.
Okay, I don't believe in our materials, I may be wrong, because I didn't look through the entire thing, but do we have a floor plan of the house?
We do.
We do? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, members. Yeah, if you guys, maybe some of you have it online, I don't.
Can I ask some questions about the house?
Please do, Frank, yeah.
The room in the front right, what is that room?
If you kind of, can you step up? Thank you for the record, thank you.
The front right, the part that extends closest to the road is the living room. And the back is just directly behind that, on the back of the house, is the bedroom. There is only one bedroom.
Oh, is this a one-bedroom home?
It's a one-bed, well, we have guests stay down cellar,
That's
but
fine.
it's basically a one-bedroom house, yes.
And so you're
And
adding...
it's an open concept except for the bathroom door and the bedroom door.
Okay. And
So if
you-
you've got smoke coming up in from the basement, say, you would not be able to get out that door because it's a common door and there is no, the upstairs is basically, as I say, an open concept versus, a door in each room. So you walk into the kitchen is open, the dining room is open, the hall is open, the living room is open.
So, here's a question from me. Like all variances, especially dimensional, I look at this and say, why can't you put this where you're legally allowed to? But it looks like there's a fireplace in place, and you've moved this as far back as you could. If you move it back any further, you don't have access to this room from the living room.
Correct. So we would have an access from the back side of the chimney, from the bedroom, and we would have an access to the sunroom, to the front side of the chimney.
Okay. If you moved it further back, in order to get to this room, you would have to travel through the bedroom, which you really,
Correct.
Not a
And you
really
couldn't, and if we had company over, we wouldn't really want them to go through the bedroom to get to the sunroom, the addition.
thank you.
Does that answer the question? Yes. Oh, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Go ahead. Please, yeah.
I'm turning into one of those people that has to do this.
That's
which
perfectly
really,
okay.
I'm not a fan, so
Oh,
pardon me.
Yeah.
It's very endearing.
What, where is the front door?
The front door is, look at the part that extends closest to the road.
Yep.
And work left, and that
Oh,
L
Sorry,
is where the,
I'm with you now.
oh, okay.
Oh, got it. Cool. Thank you, whoever did
Yeah,
that. That's-
well, that's good.
Okay.
The front door, if you go down the left side of the part that's closest to the road, it's right there. You can actually see the door
Yep, okay.
on the thing.
Okay, and then the purpose of the, so I
And
understand.
that diagram is incorrect in that there is no wall going, move
Yep.
the cursor up just a little bit. That wall is not there anymore. That is now where the dining room is, and that was opened up so that there's, as I say, it's all open upstairs except for the bathroom door and the door to the bedroom.
Okay, and there's no egress out the, what I'm gonna call the back side?
No,
Okay, and,
the only egress in the back is down cellar, because it's on a hill and, whoops, excuse me.
right, okay,
So is there egress from the proposed addition?
Yes,
So-
and that is on the far right corner on the roadside.
Got it.
and then the purpose of the addition was, remind me, please?
Well, the purpose of the addition is we're trying to age in place. And we're trying to have a one-floor, fully wheelchair. All the renovations we have been done with wheelchairs in mind, so that we can live on one floor. As we get older, we need fewer things, but we still need, some stuff that's down cellar needs to be upstairs for us to do that. And that's the purpose of putting, also, this would give us an area, we're going to have a lot of glass in this, so that in the wintertime, we can sit out there and not feel quite so gloomy, it's stuck in the house. I mean, it's, or in the summertime when it's raining, we don't have to sit out in the rain under the umbrella.
It was Frank Lloyd Wright, wasn't it, that said that the architectural purpose was to bring the outdoors in to the
Right,
extent
not
possible.
literally.
Yeah.
Any other questions
Yeah.
I can answer?
a question.
Or make an attempt to answer?
Yeah, first of all, could you state your name for the record?
Oh, yes, my name is James Robgent.
Okay, thanks. What is the square footage of the existing living area of the house?
I do not know. That's an honest question.
It
I
would be
do
on the
not know.
property tax card, would
I
it
think
not?
that,
I was
Adam.
just looking at roughly, it looked like you had maybe 42 by 30, 26 plus the bump. The reason I'm asking is that I want to conclude that it's a reasonable use in a house built in 1960 for a couple that wants to age in place to want some more square footage. And so that's why I was asking. As it is, I see a kitchen and a dining room, sort of a living area and a bedroom,
yeah,
and that's it. So,
Yeah.
so you're adding one room.
we're adding one room.
Yeah, and in this day and age, it's hardly surprising that you would want to.
Well, age is nothing I can avoid.
Unfortunately, that's true. You're not only adding additional footage, you're adding an access, an egress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Steve, the adjusted living area is 1,309 square feet.
And the addition would add what to that, do you think? In square footage?
It's 16 by 18.
Yeah, okay, one room.
Yeah, a little bit smaller because of the
200
way it built.
something. Okay, thanks very much.
Okay.
Further questions for Mr. Robgent or his surveyor? I have one other question. Yes, please, Stephen, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Of whom?
Anybody who can answer this among you. On the road, this road is it Mountain Road? Your house was built in 1960s within the front yard setback. Are the other houses nearby in the setback?
There aren't a lot of other houses nearby, is my recollection.
there we
but you
go.
can explain it to us.
This
You
is
can
a
show us.
conservation zone, and it has 10-acre zoning. All houses that have been built since we moved there in 1974 have all been, well, there was a conservation zone at that point. I'm not sure, not sure there was a conservation when we bought the house. I could be wrong on that. But anyways, all the houses that have been built are considerably larger than ours. Two of them are actually have apartments for, well, I don't know what they call, the second, like grand, what is it called?
In-law apartments.
In-law apartments.
Yes.
Actually, 3 of the 4 or 5 houses on the street now have those things. So we're the little small house on the street.
Don't believe those other houses are all as close to the road as yours.
No, they've all been built.
They've all been built back.
That-
They've
that
all
was
been built back. And actually, when we built our garden shed, we applied for the permit and we had placed it closer, and the town said, no, you got to move it back, so we moved it back.
You put it on the back side of the garden.
We put it on the back side of the garden. Our original intention was to put it inside the garden.
right.
But as soon as we knew the rule, we changed it. I mean, we're not trying to play any
Well,
games.
look at it this way, though. You didn't take up that valuable garden space with the floor print of the shed.
I know, and we've thought about that since.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, thanks very much, Mr.
Okay,
Robjet.
anybody else?
Yeah, further questions?
I have a question. What do you use the woodshed for?
The woodshed in the back of the.
Yeah.
We use it for storing wood.
Is it? Okay,
It holds 3 cord of wood.
okay. I used to get put in the woodshed. It was my office. That's why I was asking if it was
Yeah.
actually a
No,
woodshed.
It's
or if it
strictly,
was
and it's
used
an
for
attached
something
woodshed.
else.
It's not, it's physically attached to the building, so it doesn't fall down, but it's not a permanent structure.
I have a question. Adam, did we receive any notifications from any of the neighbors?
We did not get any correspondence from a neighbor.
We have one anecdotal from Mr. Spear, who lives across the street from us, and he, said that he would feel that there would be absolutely no problem with us putting an addition on the house. As a matter of fact, he thought it would actually make the house look a little better.
There you go. Further questions? Yes,
May I
please.
ask, when was the greenhouse attached?
The greenhouse was attached, I'm going to say sometime in the 1980s. And we applied for a building permit, and that was back when it was very complicated, and they said, build it. They didn't talk about any type of restrictions or anything.
Well, it's
We
pretty-
went through the building permit, the process at that time.
Pretty close to the setback. You did well with that one.
That purely accidental.
Not an issue.
Yeah, not an
I'm
issue,
not
in
sure.
fact.
I think the 50-foot setback came in the late 90s. I think it was like 98 or 99.
Yeah, it was.
had
It was 25.
And it was back when you called the selectmen and got your building permit.
Yeah, if it was an annotated zoning ordinance, we would know the answer, but it's
Yeah.
not an annotated zoning ordinance, so we do not know the answer. But, okay.
Anybody else?
Further questions of the petitioners or their surveyor? Then I believe the chair would entertain a motion to discuss. Oh, please, yes, surveyor.
Just one more thing to mention to the board. The particular shape of this property is very unique in the neighborhood. It's actually the second smallest property in the conservation district. And most of the other properties are either very deep and long, and they're not triangular shaped. The nature of this property, the setbacks affect this property more than a square shape or a rectangle would. I just wanted to point that out to the board.
For the record, it's a little over 4 acres, is it not?
Yep, that's correct.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments, or? All right, then I think the chair would entertain a motion to discuss. So moved. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Seconded by Frank. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, the ayes have it. We are open to discuss. And from the previous session, I think we could fairly conclude that there was no substantial change in the character of the neighborhood, that there was no diminution in the surrounding property values as a result of this. The other point, there was no argument about substantial justice. There's no argument about it being in contravention of the present zoning ordinance. The only issue we got down to was the one of hardship. And we didn't know if we had a hardship because we didn't know where the front property line was. And now that we know where the front property line was, it's pretty obvious that we do need a variance. And so the only issue before the board, as I see it, and I could be wrong, and that's why we're having discussion, is this issue of hardship. So let's talk about that just for a minute. what is it about this property that constitutes a hardship that if we apply the strict letter of the zoning ordinance to this particular property, it would deny the landowners reasonable use of their property? Certainly what they're proposing is not an unreasonable addition in terms of square footage, as Stephen has pointed out, as we also think about the petitioner's desire to age in place.
So I'll chime in.
Okay, please do.
If they move this back into the setback where they're allowed to, then they can't access this
Right.
room unless it's through the bedroom.
It defeats the purpose of the additional access.
Correct.
And as I'm come to understand by talking to other members of the board, that we have traditionally thought of hardship as some character of the land that distinguishes the property from others in the area, because all of the properties along Mountain Road are all subject to the same 50-foot setback. So there's got to be something about this particular property that distinguishes it from others, that makes the application of the existing ordinance undue hardship to the petitioners. And I would propose to you that what I see that makes this difficult is the unusual triangularly shaped lot. And I would propose to you that hardship is created because this property was built before the 50-foot setback was placed as part of the zoning ordinance. And so therefore, once that 50-foot setback was overlaid on the existing property, it created a hardship that they had, well, they may have voted for it or not voted for it, but the point was that it became hardship by virtue of where the property was built before the setback existed. And even though we've traditionally thought about hardship as being a physical characteristic of the lot, I'm under the impression that the Housing Appeals Board, is that the name of it?
Yes.
The Housing Appeals Board, in their recent cases, have also indicated that in situations such as this, where a building was lawfully constructed prior to the enactment of a setback, the fact that the setback now restricts them from further adding on is a hardship for the purposes of constructing a hardship.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in. I'm not sure if there's a housing appeals board that is that specific, but there are at least two cases in which the housing appeals board pointed out that the condition of the existing building was a special condition. One was an existing garage, that's Brian Graham v. Town of East Kingston, and then the Chelmsford Hooksett case was a large building that was unused, but it was the character of that building that created the hardship that led to the grant of the variance, which was only reversed for irrelevant reasons. And then there's also, you may recall, a case you've cited, Bacon v. Enfield, yes, where the property owner attached a propane tank in the setback. Now, in that case, it was a very sensitive setback because it was a waterfront situation. Yes. And so I'd like to go on and make a point about the standard we're applying is no fair or substantial reason to deny this reasonable use. And when we're talking about a front setback, you need to examine the purposes of the front setback. And they're not as sensitive as a waterfront setback. There's no pollution, environmental reason. They're aesthetic. And in this case, there's a lot of frontage. We have testimony that the neighbors can't really even see the house. And so the aesthetic,
and it's
not convincing.
well, it's hard to describe, but I would look at it this way, and I would say it's no more encroaching than the existing structure, because the bump out bay window is the most egregious incursion into the setback. But this addition as proposed is farther away from the street than the most egregious part. And so therefore, I'd say the ultimate result was less non-conforming than when we started, if you know what I mean. yeah, there's more area that's encroaching than there was because we're adding on. But the point is, it's no more egregious than the bay window. So I'm concluding as a result, and this is open to debate. It's not my vote here. It's everybody on the board. You're all entitled to your own opinion on this. But as I see it, at the end result, this addition is no more non-conforming, results in a structure that's no more non-conforming than the existing thing, existing structure. Further comment by any board members? This is debate. This is the purpose of this, so
Sure,
please weigh in.
I'll chime in. There is no harm if this variance is approved and the addition is built, there is no harm to the public.
No,
I see
exactly.
none. And to go back to hardship, I just had a case where the Housing Appeals Board overturned Washington's zoning board's decision on a very similar situation. Washington created zoning on a house that was built prior to the zoning, made it non-conforming, and just like you said, Steve, it's Washington versus Caruso. So I'm sure they'd rather not be here. Looking at the plan, they basically have no choice. This is where they have to locate this
Yeah.
addition. And what they're asking for is not unreasonable.
No. Not that we base our decisions on reasonableness by say. We base them on the court decisions
Right.
and this text of the variance statute that's before us. But yes,
I'd like to add that the need for additional egress for fire purposes is a pretty compelling argument. You're not just here saying, well, we want to build it because we want more space, which is a fine, and probably I would go for that, but additional fire protection and safety is obviously an extremely reasonable use.
Well, on that point, I would just offer that building a door that isn't encroaching would also satisfy the egress issue. So I don't know that an entire addition is required in order to justify a door to add egress. So I think I wouldn't agree with that you just said, but just wanted to.
you wouldn't agree completely, but you don't find the addition is unreasonable in terms of its square footage compared to the original house.
I wasn't talking about square footage. I was speaking to
Understood.
the fact that I don't think you need to build an addition to knock a hole and put a door in, that what your point is egress, but that's not the only point of this addition.
Understood. Further comment or question by board? Are we ready for the vote? Oh, you're looking at me. What? What'd I forget?
I just was curious if there was an actual motion
Well, we're getting to
on,
that.
oh, okay. I thought you were calling.
I'm asking for the motion.
I would approve the variance as requested.
Okay, we have a motion before us to approve the variance as requested by the petitioners. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's seconded by Frank. All right. Is there further discussion on this motion to approve this variance as presented by the petitioners at this continuation, at the original hearing and as this continuation? Any discussion? Yes, Conrad.
Would the motion possibly include the specifications from the survey as to how much is actually encroaching?
We presume, and we get into trouble for that the addition will be constructed consistent with the plans before us. We can make that a condition if you wish. Are there any further conditions the board wishes to impose on this variance?
I mean,
Request.
I would agree with Conrad that if the rationale, so we took the facts here and considered the facts and the findings of these 3 cases you mentioned to come up with the interpretation that a pre-existing non-conforming use in and of itself is a hardship,
Generates a hardship.
generates a hardship, and thus the rationale for finding that the motion, I think, is to grant the variance is because the addition, they have no choice but to also have it encroach, so they need the variance. And one of the things that I thought we said was compelling here was that the addition, as proposed, is no more encroaching in the setback area than the existing original structure.
Than any
So-
part of the original structure.
So for that reason, since it was part of the facts that were laid out in order to apply the case law that we have to the facts here, then I think it should be a condition.
I'd like to add one thing to that, and that is that not every request for a variance for a house that's non-conforming and a setback will get approved. But in this case, it's a front setback, and I'm focused on the no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of that particular front setback and this particular request for a reasonable use. If we were to get a case like the Bacon v. Enfield, I think we might come down differently, but I do agree, Julia, that the existing house, which is already within the front setback all across the frontage, is a special condition of this property.
Okay. Would someone be so kind as to summarize the motion and additions that are currently before the board before the vote?
Okay, I'd like to keep it simple,
Please.
so that we approve the variance with the condition that the addition matches the site plan that was submitted.
What do you think of that? Are we good with that, everybody? Yeah? Any?
Does that include the plans by foremost from the previous meeting? Is there any difference? I
Actually-
didn't notice a difference between those,
I
but
mean,
more detailed.
Sorry, Pete, didn't mean to interrupt you.
So, I'm sorry, Pete, what do you see differently?
I don't see anything different, but they do have, the specifications for the window locations and door locations.
Yeah, I think the survey, yeah, I think the survey outlines the footprint, and I'm looking to see,
So if you said approve the variance as requested and depicted on plan.
Consistent with the construction, consistent with the plans most recently submitted to the board.
or should we just say the application? That way the plans and.
If they're the same, yes.
Yeah.
They're all of the materials are part of the application
Right.
package, so that should be comprehensive.
Do we even need to do that? Isn't that part of, yeah, I don't think let me restate that. I don't think we need this condition because the application is the variance. I mean, that's the,
It's intuitively understood that they're going to construct what they wanted to construct, consistent with what we told them they could.
right.
And it's his job to make sure that that happens.
Are we okay?
Am I right about that? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if they were to move a window, we don't care. The only thing we
no.
care about are those setback distances. And in fact, if they were to move it back further, that wouldn't bother us either.
Just don't get rid of the door.
And unless it's one of those egregious bay windows. Huh? Unless it's one of those egregious bay windows.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. All right. Do we have a motion? We have a motion, yes? We're going to approve the application with no conditions. Are we ready for the vote?
Did we get a second on that motion?
I believe we did.
Oh, yes, Frank did.
Yes, I
Okay.
believe we did. We had discussion, must have had a second.
Okay, you're right.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? I'm not hearing any. I think the motion has been granted. Your variance has been approved. And you tell David, I'm disappointed he didn't come here tonight to hear this. Oh, the poor thing. Yeah, I bet it is, yeah. Well, tell him to get well and get going on that thing, will you? All right. Is there further, let's see what our agenda says. Thank you all for coming and making a presentation for us. Do we have minutes that need to be approved?
We do, and I'm just thinking, Jim, if I can grab one more of those, I can put another copy in your building permit, and then we'll just use that. Because I'm still,
Keep one, and you can have the rest of them
perfect.
behind the wastebasket.
Okay, thank you. You know what, I might keep one of those too, so you can take all the rest, but I'll keep one of those for the building permit too.
Well, I'm sorry you guys had to come back, but we kind of needed the surveyors to give us the line that we needed to proceed. We really weren't sure how much the encroachment was, so It's just one of those things, we had to paper the file, we had to make sure we knew, yeah. Okay, that's all I have. You're free to go, thank you very much. And we have some administrative things we need to deal with.
We do have the minutes from the 7th, and admittedly, I'm learning how to post on the website now since we lost both of our administrative assistants last month. And I didn't realize that when I created a new category for 2025, you actually have to press the on button. It doesn't happen automatically. So it went on this morning when I realized that that had been in the draft version on the backside of the website. So I'm not sure if everyone got to read them or not, but they are posted and there's copies on the stage. If you didn't get a chance to look at them, we can defer it to the next meeting.
Who had a chance to look at the minutes?
I have not. Can we defer?
I have not. Have you? No. No one seemed, anybody over there looked at the minutes? I'm disappointed in you, Julia. All right, I think we better defer.
And there's
I think we better defer the approval of the minutes until next session. Do we have a next session with a variance application certain?
don't have any applications right now. There are 2 others that are in the wings that I would expect if the projects move forward in the next few weeks. But as of right now, we do not have a date set for a subsequent meeting.
Understood.
So stay
All right.
tuned.
Further business? Hearing none, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Do I have such a motion? Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.